No, actually, we're leaving in 2 weeks. You might want to, so I had to check in and do all the, other procedural things that you have to do if you're going to leave to deploy. So it was.
What are some of those procedural things? Certainly not all of them, but the majors, whether it's equipment issue.
Well, right. I had to get all my stuff issued to me,
Yeah.
which you have to do when you show up, and then I had to go and get, a will, and all that other little, just legal stuff to make sure that, you go with all the stuff that you need to go with.
Yeah.
Plus check in. I was coming to my first unit, and you have to check into your unit, and they got to get your all your stuff from where you were to where you are now. It's administrative stuff that I don't really like.
And then put you right into a platoon squad. You met your squad leader, or
Well, I was a 64, 12, 13, and at the air wing level, you're grouped up in what they call divisions, and then you go into a squadron. Your divisions are, depending on what your job is, they get grouped up that way.
Okay.
So it's not as similar for like ground level guys who are put into a specific platoon and then they're in a battalion. It's divisions, a squadron, what they call air groups.
okay. So 2 weeks. They basically say you're leaving, and true to their word, 2 weeks you were off the ground.
It was like 2.5 weeks, and we jumped on C-130s and we flew to Germany, and then from Germany we flew to Italy, and then from Italy we went to Afghanistan. Was it Italy? It was Italy. No, it was Italy.
And the entire unit flew?
Most of them, depending on their mission, some actually came via the USS Hornet, which is it's like a carrier, but for helicopters. So it's like a mini aircraft carrier. It just has it looks exactly like an aircraft carrier, just a little bit smaller. So some of them came via that for whatever reason, but I flew.
But did you know your destination when you were leaving?
Well,
I mean,
we knew
obviously Afghanistan, but particular to Afghanistan?
We were in, yeah.
You were told ahead of time?
Yeah, we knew the air base we were going to because it was well established. It's right near Kandahar. I think I wrote it down because I had to look it up on a map because I forgot the name. It's like 100 miles west of Kandahar. It's really hard to pronounce. Something I can't remember.
Laskargah?
Yeah.
Laskargah.
Yeah, it's a
100 miles west of Kandahar?
it's like 100 miles west. And
Okay.
It's a city, if you want to call it a city, but we were right on the outskirts of that. And that was like at that point was the major air base.
Yeah, were you briefed on what your mission would be once arrived? I mean, you probably knew yours particularly, but the mission of your unit, or?
Well, at that point, we were, Afghanistan was on the back burner, and Iraq had become the new, or was becoming the new thing. So a lot of resources were being brought either back to the States to get ready to go to Iraq, or they were on their way to Iraq.
And this time frame is, I apologize.
2002 going into 2003.
Okay.
So yeah, I think Iraq was March of 2003. If memory serves me, when they had that whole, you have 100 hours to give up or whatever. So we were there before that, but it was, it was when the Pentagon, and you knew that they were gearing up for something, and you already had started hearing things about, and President Bush, was saying Iraq more and more.
Sure.
So we were there. Really, the main combat operations were kind of over in Afghanistan. We were there just as a support group. To be honest with you, I really didn't do all. I mean,
Well, you were told as such going there that your mission as helicopter
the mission was to keep aircraft in flight. Work on the aircraft, do what you have to do. It was 12 on, 12 off for 6 months or 5 months, whatever it was.
And
really,
your role particularly?
Just
do your job.
Upkeep of the aircraft. I wasn't part of any specific operations. It was very, it wasn't what I expected.
How did you, first, what did you expect?
Well, I expected combat, or something similar to what I thought combat was, and it was boring.
when you get there, who was teaching you what to do once there? Did
Well,
you replace a
I
unit?
was there with my unit, and
Right.
really my gunny
Did you
said nothing's going to change. You know,
Okay.
we're just going from, we're in Camp Pendleton, everything's coming with us, and now we're in Afghanistan for 6 months. Nothing's going to change. Our mission, the thing about the Air Wing is usually their mission is no different from peacetime to wartime, because we run simulations all continuously because pilots have to maintain flight hours. So maybe the flight hours go up, so the amount of work that's there to be done increases, but the work is no different.
So you had a very typical day.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it?
12 hours of this aircraft needs to go up. It's not up because of this piece of equipment that is being held back. Get it on the bench, which is the system that it's, we call it the bench. It's, however you test it, figure out what's wrong with it, and fix it.
How was the equipment? I mean, would you? It's
Depends
good.
on the aircraft.
But
Some
where,
aircraft,
particular to this deployment, I mean, did you think that?
again, it's a range.
Yep.
You have some very elaborate, state-of-the-art systems, with integrated systems that, basically talk to you and basically tell you what's wrong with them. And then you have these archaic systems from, I remember one radio, it was a beast, and it's like 85 pounds. It's an old HF radio, and it's got no integrated circuitry in it. It's all like individual resistors and capacitors, and you're in there with, going down the line, with tech sheets that are, forget about it. I mean, so it
Yeah.
just depended on what you were doing that individual day. It really wasn't.
How was the sleeping, eating conditions?
They were pretty good because they were well established at the time. This base had been there 18 months now,
Okay.
so they kind of knew what they were doing. So the facilities were, it was like a dorm.
Hard stand, but
Yeah,
the
no,
building?
it was a building that they had built. They came in and built concrete. I mean, it was fortified, for the random. It's gigantic, and every couple weeks they would, there was still guys out there trying to cause mayhem at that point. And, there was a random shelling, but.
But your uniform day to day was just soft cap or whatever?
Yeah, it was-
No.
Well, no. If you were walking, you had to walk. Yeah, it's the military. They're always, always extra careful. You always had to walk with your rifle and flak jacket and a helmet on. But you didn't walk with any rounds, which I always thought was a little interesting. I was like, if something happens, maybe I want to have a couple rounds with me. But I could understand why.
Sure.
Because you're 19 and you think you're going to combat, and you're standing around for 3 months and you're doing nothing. And then you're like, ooh, I got some bullets, let's shoot, I can imagine how fast that would happen.
Yeah.
Oh, it just went off, Gunny. I was just walking around and the gun went off.
So your deployment there started to tail down in December of 2003, is that correct? July to December?
Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah, so I guess, Iraq was pretty full bore at that point. Yeah.
Certainly headed there, but it speaks to the diversion of resources.
Yeah, you could definitely, well, you knew that because the guys that were there 6 months before us, there was twice as many of them, and now they had, they had made it even smaller.
Yeah. So within that deployment, was there a sense of morale within the unit as to how the war was going, or the next war that was beginning?
We were
or?
convinced that Afghan was over, that if we were not the last one, the one after us was going to be the last one, of major combat operations, if there was any.
Mm-hmm.
And Iraq went pretty well, if you remember, initially, so we were like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of.
I could say what we really said, and
Yeah.
you'd have to bleep it all out. But no, at that point, everyone was like, the president said we're going to take Afghanistan, and he said we were done, and as far as we could tell, we pretty much had done it, and Iraq, we were in and out in a month, and that had already been, we had already flown on that aircraft and landed, and, everyone was like, great, and this is December 2003, so that's like when the insurgency
Yeah.
had just started to started hearing about it more.
Yeah.
And I started hearing from people who I knew in theater going,